What is up, guys? I figured since I was doing some map work tonight, I would do a live stream of it because some people were wondering when the next live stream was. So this is a new map I'm working on. I've been working on it since the end of 15, and actually this should probably be grass. Finally found time to get it converted over to 17, and there was actually an issue with GE not supporting 16x, and that's been resolved. So I got all the textures and LEs converted over, and now I'm just kind of working away at adding in trees and so on and so forth. Right now, I think there is over 4,000 trees I've placed so far, so it's definitely the most boring thing there you could really do as it relates to map, map, map making, um, especially when you have all these different elevations. You can't really place it very quickly, as if it were all the same elevation. So this is definitely an endurance test when it comes to patience, and I'm a pretty patient guy, so it's kind of therapeutic, really. I mean, a lot of people this probably would drive crazy, but after a long stressful days, it's kind of nice to just kind of shut your brain off. No stress, no thinking. You just kind of just do this mundane task over and over again. So I'm really just focusing on adding one set of the oak, and then I'm gonna once majority of this is placed, because Osceola, if a lot of people are asking, it's Osceola, Wisconsin. Along the river, it's a lot of oak and pine, but it's majority of oak trees. So I'm using the stage 4 oak. I might see if I can get like a larger oak. There's birch. There's a large birch that I use quite a bit too. Um, but for right now, basically what I did is I went and all the roads were built in Blender. I got all the crop fields on the Wisconsin side completed. Now I'm just kind of starting in this corner, this area, and working my way down. If we come over here, I have a lot of the shrubs and trees placed over here in the farm. This section still needs to be completed, but um, this farm, these trees are all completed. Using some generic buildings really for layout. Um, Really, how you do these maps is you kind of do it in sections. Like the Minnesota side, I haven't really touched at all. It's just really roughed in, and so. And then this is another farm I was working on over here. So this is a 16x map. It's gonna take forever to complete. It's a DEM. For those that don't know, it's a digital elevation. So all the elevations are, the topography is based off of real data, digital elevation mapping. Um, so the elevations are true to the area, which is something I've never done before, and I was really wanted a map that I could really play on for, like this is should be like the last map I ever do. 16x, it has everything I'm really looking forward to. The area, I know it. It's, in terms of map mapping, it has all the bells and whistles. as regards to size and accurate elevations. But yeah, so I mean, the stream will probably be pretty boring, but the key for map making is to really just focus in on an area and try not to. I like to do things in basically levels or layers. You know, you would go through and you would add all your fields in, and then once your fields are done, then you'd go in and add like all of your grass, and then once all the grass is done, you go in and add in all of your like terrain, paint your terrain like your forests and your roads, and then once that's done, you can go back and add like a second crop and so forth, and then smooth your terrain. So you, otherwise, if you like do one area that's start to finish all the way done, it seems like it takes forever, and like the whole map doesn't really look like it's progressing. So that way you can progress the whole map at the same kind of level. That's the way things kind of get done, and you make sure you're not missing. And then obviously you can do like kind of like break the map up into grids, like quadrants, kind of like you're playing battleship, and you can focus on one area. In that area, you can have your different items you wanna complete, and once they're done, you can move to another section. So there's a lot of different ways to do it, but I mean, there's really no shortcut when it comes to time in doing these things like placing all these trees individually. There's really no shortcut. Um, I mean, there is if you're doing a flat map, but I mean, at the end of the day, you're gonna get extremely bored from such a basic flat map with square fields, level terrain. It's not gonna last. It's not gonna keep you entertained. But then again, when you go to maps where it has all kinds of undulating terrain, and it takes a lot longer, but hopefully it's worth it. As in, you'll keep playing it for longer than what it took you to build it, really. So I'll do that. So then we can come up here, get rid of our... It would be nice if you could paint these solid trees like it was a foliage layer, but to my knowledge, that's not possible, which isn't the biggest thing in the world. But I'm not really interested in playing the game right now. Pretty much all my spare time is going into working on this map. Um, and then you can just it's kind of a wild, untamed area here up on the hill. And the nice thing about building an area with DEM and Google Maps is you don't really have to think about layout. You just kind of copy. Which, believe it or not, when you're doing a map from scratch and it's not based off of a real area, and you're trying to plan all the roads and layouts, it's actually much more difficult because you need to be really creative, and creativity is it's not easy being creative. I mean, some people it probably comes very natural, but to those of us that have a more of a structured, logical brain, it's definitely not the easiest thing. So you can see the difference in elevations just in this one area. It's gonna be a fun map to play on, especially like this road here. It goes up into the hills and curves down. So that definitely be a fun map to play on when it's if and when it's ever finished. But the key is to just spend like an hour a night or whatever, half hour, whatever you can spare before bed. Anyways, just looking at the comments to see what you guys are saying. I actually don't know what kind of farms. I don't live in Osceola. I live about 20 minutes, or my parents live probably 20, 25 minutes east of Osceola. So I'm pretty familiar with the area, but I'm not really familiar with any of the farms or any of the guys that actually farm in this area. Alright, so here, just kind of roughing it out. There's some pine trees. We'll come and do them later, but most of these trees they don't have any leaves on them. They're all oak trees that the leaves fell off. This area is going to be another heavy in the pine tree area, which is right here. So I got the little stream coming through. Got some different kind of terrain. A lot of this stuff you'll probably never see as you're playing the map unless you kind of uh, go around looking for it. These areas, I like these areas where it's kind of just uh, unused fields. That means I don't have to put trees there. So, anyways, but we're finishing up this section. There is supposed to be. Okay, so that's that. Finish putting in some trees here. Can move on to a different section. Another thing is, I like to place things in transform groups, and then you can just copy and paste. Otherwise, um, it's gonna take forever to kind of like scroll through. Just copy and paste. Like I was saying, if there was a better way to like paint these solid trees in, that'd be great. But as far as I know, there isn't. It all has to be placed manually, because these are the trees that you can cut. You know. The downside with this area is there's no really large grain farms that like you're used to seeing in most maps. It's all very small. Um, Most of them are kind of not even active farms, I don't believe. A lot of beef. There's probably one or two, like I would say, moderate grain farms, but there's nothing with like brand new. No one in this area is farming like 10,000 acres. I think some of the larger farms might do 3,000 acres, but those are spread out through a couple counties. So there isn't like one area where farms, has a whole, a couple thousand acres right by their farm. They might have a couple hundred, like I imagine like five to 700 acres near the farm, but I think you're gonna struggle to find anyone that has a large complex. I think the more you move out west from the river on the Minnesota side, and more out east on the Wisconsin side, you'll find larger and larger farms. But in this area, I don't think it's very common. Most people are small dairy. There isn't really much for large crop farm operations. So that's the only downside. I mean, obviously you can kind of edit an area to, you know, have a larger farm, but in staying true to the area, it's nothing with a major industrial grain complex. Like growing up, most people that I knew from school and church, they were all, I think some of the larger guys that were considered larger for the area are milking, 600 dairy cow. Like that would be a large farm in this area. And most of all their land goes into um, feed production. So we're getting pretty close to getting. I mean, you can see how many trees I placed. This area I still need to. This is all empty right here. So this little plot, this area, but it's all pretty flat. So that should go pretty quick. But in this area, it's really just there isn't nothing there. There's supposed to be a road in houses, but I didn't put a road in. I should probably put a road in up there. It's like a big garden. But you see, it's all trees. That's all it is. I have this farm in. I have to do all these trees. I have this section pretty much wrapped up to here. And then I have this section left. This is like a fish hatchery, I believe. So I don't even know how I'm going to incorporate that into the map. Like I painted the brown where it's supposed to be, technically. But I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to do that. Anyways, next side, it's pretty much all a lot of pine trees. I'm gonna paint in some grass. I definitely think making a map in some ways is easier than making a mod, but some days it definitely feels like it's less rewarding. But when you make a decent mod or you have decent equipment and you don't have a very good map that you enjoy using, it's kind of frustrating. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take all the trees that I placed, put them back. So when I'm doing an area, I like to like trees, and then I like kind of put the trees down on each road, and then break it into which kind of which tree it is, and it's just a little bit easier to manage when you're just doing one specific tree at a time. And then when you place, 30, 40 trees, it gets kind of hard to keep copying and pasting in transform groups. So then you just kind of start over. So this area that we're doing is specifically right here. So we're going to be placing trees all the way up to the creek, and then it gets more into a pine infestation. Infested with pine trees. So we'd be placing trees all the way up to here. Usually when I'm doing map mapping, I usually have like a movie playing or something in the background, or I'm listening to news or a lecture or something. That way, kind of like you can really just zone out and relax, and before you know it, you've been listening to whatever, and you have 2-3 hours worth of work done. So you go into a zone. I mean, obviously, if you're working on map or modding, you're not going to have time to play. So, and that's a nice thing is it comes in waves, really. There's times, maybe this month I'm really into playing the game, or I'm really sick of the game, but I really been itching to, you know, I really wanted to use this piece of equipment in my game, but it's not available. So then after so many weeks or months or years of not having that, then you get the itch to model something new. And then once you have that and you've been using it for a while, you've been playing on the same map for a while, you get kind of sick of that. It just seems like with maps, you can never be satisfied. Like you're really happy with the map you're using, and then after a while you're just like, well, I'm really sick of this, or I wish this would change, but if I change this, it changes everything about the map, or I really wish it was bigger, or I wish it had better road system, or I wish it had a better farm layout. It's just something about maps that you're just never satisfied. You always, especially if you do a lot of map editing or map making, there's always something that you feel like you can change or needs to be changed or could be improved. So in that way, it's very frustrating. I think when you first start out learning and you're learning everything new, you're instantly satisfied because you're learning a new skill. And someone that's learning to make some map edits, or they're like, I really wish I could have a different layout of this farm, and then you figure out how to use GE and make edits and changes, and there's instant satisfaction. But when you improve your skill set and you log more hours playing, you is you keep wanting to improve, or you keep wishing things could be different, and then that gets you sucked in. And then before you know it, it's like 4 years later, and you're still playing the game, still trying to fix things. But I'm at a point in my career now as a dentist that I just enjoyed really coming home and just turning my brain off. Low stress. I don't have to think. And so for someone this might be really boring, but to me this is actually quite relaxing. After like a couple hours, on the weekend or something like that, it definitely gets annoying, but it's just nice to have a little hobby that you can shut her down. This, I actually like working in GE better than Blender. It's it's so simple to navigate, and but it's so buggy too. Like this GE, when you're doing, when I started adding a lot more trees and just trying to render everything and save it, it has a tendency to like crash. So I always encourage people to back things up, like if they have Dropbox or any kind of like cloud storage, is definitely like back it up. Like sometimes I will put this file in my Dropbox folder and I'll work on it while it's in Dropbox. But other times I'll just randomly, copy this whole file over and paste it into Dropbox. Because sometimes when you save, it kind of like you get error message, and luckily like you can actually go to your C drive and look at what the error code is. If the Giants editor isn't loading, you can actually go into your C drive and your user applications and figure out what exactly is throwing GE off or it won't load. Like when I was converting over the GRLE files to this, I was getting a 8-bit, some kind of random 8-bit code or something like that. Like I would try to um, convert my like grass and ground and dirt textures over, and it literally would not load. So that was kind of frustrating. That's one of the reasons why like I didn't start working on this map till recently, is because I couldn't even get it into Giants Editor first off, and then second off, like you had to get a new script so you could actually work in Giants Editor on this 16x size terrain. But I would say this map will probably have upwards of 60,000 trees placed manually, so you can imagine how ridiculous that's going to be. Um, the nice thing is I'm doing more of the woodsy areas first. Like if you look in this map, most of the other areas are fields and small woods, not a whole lot going on for these larger forest areas. So I'm going to save this. I could do interactive placement. You should use interactive placement, Control D and then Control B and then click where you want. So we'll try that. So when it's exporting and saving, this is where a lot of the times it tends to get corrupt. You see, oh, now it's responding, now it's done. So someone's saying do Control D, Control B, Control D, Control B, and then click. That's cool. So, Control D, Control D, Control B. Too bad you can't keep. I mean, this is definitely. I have to say, shout out to South Saskatchewan boy modding and mapping. That's learned something new tonight. That actually will be a lot quicker because it places it, and you don't have to worry about it going. It places it at the origin, so that's really cool. Too bad it doesn't. You have to do each individually unless there's another. Hold Control B and keep clicking. Control. Control D. Control B. No. Control D. Click and hold. That doesn't seem to be working. So I do Control D, Control B. Do I hold on both of them? Why isn't it? Do I do Control B Shift? No, Shift B? I'm confused. So if I hold Shift B, does it do anything? Control Shift B? No. Cole's trying to figure it out for me. And here I thought there was going to be some miracle. Does this keyboard shortcuts? Here we go. Alright, Control interactive placement, hold left mouse button to move around, Shift, interactive placement paint. Interactive placement paint with random. Control R, pick, replace value. Duplicate, Interact the placement. Hold left mouse button to move around. Alright, so I'm going to do Control B. I'm going to hold down left. And now I hold down Shift. Control. Not working. So everywhere I want it. So I want to do Control B. So if I hit Control B, there we go. That's so much easier. It's way easy. Then I could just go to a view like this. Wow, that's so much easier. I'm glad I did this live stream, otherwise I would have been here forever. The power of people who are smarter than you. Wow, this has probably saved me like 2 years of tree placing. Man. Look at that. It's literally like an hour's worth of work. It used to take me to do that. It's impressive. Wow. In my defense, I actually haven't used any of this. Been in GE for like 2 years, so. But that was definitely the. Oops. Definitely one of the coolest things I've learned in GE. Does anyone else know? I mean, that's definitely the most useful um, shortcut I've learned so far. Control B. I'm instantly less crabby from learning this. This is called speed modding. This is ridiculous. Or speed mapping. This is amazing. The nice thing about this with 17 is once you load the map once, it caches it, and then you never. I mean, the first time you load this map, it's going to take a long time to load. But once you do that, it's going to be just fine, and then everything is based on clip distance at that point. So performance-wise, it should operate at the same level as a 1x map in theory. I've never had any issues with 4x maps before, so would you look at that? Just look at it. You know it's an oak tree by the way it is. Like if you tried to do that in any of the older GEs, it would have just crashed immediately. So it's kind of nice to know. That I can handle this kind of. Oh, this guy is a little misplaced there. So this is nice. Even on this uneven terrain, it places your origin of your. Oops. It places it right at your terrain level, so you shouldn't have any sunken trees, which that was definitely the biggest pain when it came to placing trees. But that's awesome. It's like a couple hundred trees placed in a couple seconds. Like that area would have taken me 2 hours easily. So that's nice that you can do that. It's really quick. Should probably finish up this area then. thing about making this map I was dreading the most is now what I'm dreading the least, so that's encouraging. Works so well with all this terrain, too. Props to Giants for making a shortcut like that. The nice thing about um, a map this big is, like, you could be farming in this. I know there's a farm here, a farm here, a farm here, a farm here, farm here, farm here, a farm here, farm here, farm here, and there's like a couple of farms over here. But there's only like the co-op is right here. So this is where you get all your fertilizer. The dealer is right here. This is where you'd sell your milk. Um, Definitely I'm gonna put the grain cell here. So like no matter where you are on this map, you have to like drive a decent distance. So you're gonna be able to, you know, you're gonna be all over this map regardless of where you're farming. You're gonna get to experience probably, at least half of it at all times. So that's kind of the nice thing about building such a large map off of a realistic area is, why is this not working? Is it forces you to really use the entire map, driving that is, and then obviously there'll be some areas where the fields are cheaper and you'll be able to buy smaller fields as you grow. The actual dealership, I don't remember what it's called anymore. It used to be, there was a Pulfus in Richmond. There was I think it's like a Deer implement or Tri implement or something like that. But then there's another Deer um, dealership in Turtle Lake, and I believe all three of them are owned by the same company now. I don't really remember what what it's called anymore. I think it's still called Pulfus in New Richmond. I'm not sure what it's called in Osceola. And then in Baldwin, there's a New Holland dealer. I don't think they sell. I mean, I'm sure they would sell case because it's pretty much the same thing, if not the same thing, company-wise. Yeah, this definitely takes the stress out of placing trees because you know they're not going to be sticking out in the ground. I don't have to make them very dense back here. I'm surprised so many of you guys knew that this shortcut. Figured 30 seconds of looking at this shortcut. Figure it out, but I wouldn't dare to try to do this in an older version of Giants. The thing would crash in 0.2 seconds. But yeah, this is definitely going to speed up the whole process. I know there's a tool for placing things on splines. That would probably be good for power lines and stuff. Bam, that's amazing. Someone's asking if I watched the Cup playoffs. Yeah, I watched it. I have to say last night's game was really intense. Um, both both teams were playing very well. I was getting kind of annoyed with all the Nashville fans throwing catfish on the rink. I mean, like, what is that? Like, I'm sure other fans do other weird things, but I was kind of getting kind of annoyed with that. I think that call against the Predators, where the ref lost sight of the puck, was a bit ridiculous. I don't think you can fault any Nashville fan for being upset about that, because that was pretty ridiculous. Yeah, I've been to the dealer up in Baldwin. That's actually quite a large. They carry a pretty sizable inventory. The dealer here in Osceola is pretty small. One in Richmond is fairly decent. Um, but nothing. The I mean, John Deere has the construction division, but